Hello, Gaddis Gamers. Thank you for joining me on this rant that I'm about to go on because 11 years ago now, I created a rule system for Star Wars called Attack of the Duplicate People, where I had my Wizards of the Coast Star Wars miniatures, and they had stopped supporting the game, and this is before Fantasy Flight picked up the license and came out with X-Wing, and had a great time, collected a lot of the X-Wing miniatures, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if we had a ground combat game using uh, epic scale 6 millimeter Star Wars miniatures, using X-Wing as the air system, and then just creating miniatures to go with the game, right? And so X-Wing ran its course, and corporate shenanigans being what they are, Asmodee ended up buying out Fantasy Flight, and then they gave it over to Atomic Mass Games, who decided that they didn't want X-Wing or Armada, and so they scuttled it. And I thought to myself, as a game designer, they missed a great opportunity to be able to create and expand on the license that they already had in that scale. So I thought, well, when Star Wars Legion comes out, it'll be 28 millimeter, like Imperial Assault. Excellent game. I have yet to play everything that comes with that game. It is an absolutely chef's kiss when it comes to dungeon crawlers, and it's Star Wars themed. And I thought, oh, maybe they can expand that into the Clone Wars era. But that being said, I was looking at how the IP was being handled, and I'm like, okay, Star Wars Legion, just on the name alone, okay, this is going to be a mass battle game, so they're going to expand X-Wing into ground combat, and we'll be able as gamers to get that epic scale Battle Geonosis, Battle of Naboo scale type of game. Because remember, for 2 years, X-Wing was beating the bricks off of Warhammer 40K, and bean counters at corporate America, being what they are, decided, nah, we're gonna just go ahead and let this die, and move on to even a larger scale, where Legion, they try to make it a skirmish game, which they could have had a skirmish mode in Legion, which probably should have been really Imperial Assault, but for some reason these companies, well, I think we all know why, they just want you to buy more and more and more, but they could have solved that problem by having brand new miniatures in 6 millimeter scale, in epic scale, compatible with X-Wing, that would have gave you your X-Wing players, and maybe even brought over some Imperial Assault, maybe even some War Gamers. And this is before Adeptus Titanicus or any of the epic Warhammer 40K stuff came out. So maybe even they could have got some of those people that were nostalgic to play in that 40K mode. Well, myself and other people saw that opportunity, and we wrote rule sets to try to fill in the gap. Well, being a game designer, I do what game designers do, right? I designed the game around what I wanted. And so Attack of the Duplicate People came around. There were some other fan attempts at making scenarios based on that epic scale game. I wasn't the only one who had done it, and I think there was some kind of cardboard game that came out during that time for Star Wars, where you could buy it and then put together little cardboard figures, push fit 2D figures, and play a game. I can't even remember what the name of it was because it came and went so fast. But seeing now with the advent of 3D printing, you can get any scale you want in Star Wars. And so people are starting to reach back into that because they want to do that epic scale gaming. And my rule set is just like I said, Attack of the Duplicate People is just one of many. But you can see the desire for people to have these mass battle games. And I just think just from a business point of view, that it's a missed opportunity from them to get into that market and use some of the IP they already had. And they were complaining that the excuse was that the pre-painted miniatures were too expensive. Well, HeroClix does it every month, not too expensive. WizKids does it all the time. Star Wars Into the Unknown, Star Trek Attack Wing, Star Trek, like I said, Into the Unknown is 1/4000 scale, the old fastest scale for ships, so I don't see that as being some kind of, uh, unassailable wall that they can't get over to get the miniatures out. And they also put out a whole line of unpainted miniatures. So, this is something that I think, again, is a missed opportunity for them. They unceremoniously canceled X-Wing because there was nothing new for them to make or whatever, and that's not true, because there's always new Star Wars stuff coming out. There's always the Legend stuff that they can put into the game. They're not going to stop making Star Wars movies, and I just think it was laziness on their part to not be, or just a lack of creativity. Maybe just the fan community is way more creative than the corporate bean counters over at Asmodee. And like I said, Fantasy Flight was doing great things with X-Wing, with Armada, with Imperial Assault. And for them to scale creep onto Star Wars Legion, there was no reason that you couldn't make Star Wars Legion 28mm and do larger games. And then they realized that the fan community wanted games larger than 5 infantry, fighting in squads. Now they've gone to a mass battle game with 2.0 to try to compete with 40K, which is all well and good, but tanks look ridiculous on the table. The LAAT looks ridiculous on the or it takes up a lot of real estate, I should say. You'll never get a Juggernaut. The ATTE takes up 2/3 of the table. The solution to that, you go smaller. You go back down to 6mm, you go back down to 1/285th X-Wing scale, and you just do ground combat. Problem solved. So anyway, that's my rant about about that. Thank you for sticking with me this long. You can find Attack of Duplicate People over on the Gaddis Gaming website. Hope you enjoy it. You can play it in any scale, whatever scale you got. The rules hold up. But I think that it's better in a smaller scale because you get to put all the toys on the table. You get your tanks, and you get all the great vehicles that came out during the Clone Wars era, where you had 2 balanced armies fighting each other and not just a ragtag team of rebels versus a galactic empire. So there's an opportunity there to game kind of in the niche, gaming in the cracks, as I believe they say. But anyway, thanks, like, share, do all the things, but most of all, happy gaming.